Hi everyone, I'm Jane Trotter and this is Accelerando Piano. In today's tutorial, we're going to be looking at ways of improving your sight reading by enhancing your muscular memory. So you can instinctively feel and know the interval distance between notes. This may seem a slightly tangential topic for sight reading, but it's actually really beneficial because it means you're not having to look down at the keyboard as often to find your notes. You can focus on the music, read ahead, check what's coming up next, and feel your way over the keys. And of course, this isn't just a very useful skill to have for sight reading. It'll help with all of your pieces. Before we get into the exercises, I thought I'd just explain what an interval actually is, because it's a term I'll be using a lot through this tutorial. An interval is the distance between two notes, and we work it out by counting it up from the bottom. So, for example, I could play C and E, and that would be the interval of a third. 1, 2, 3. On the music, I'll literally be counting up the lines and spaces between the two notes. Let's check out one more. C up to A would be the interval of a sixth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The trick is that you always count the bottom note as number 1. Alrighty. Let's start out with some exercises just in a 5-finger position. You're going to start with your hands completely off the keyboard. Then you're going to decide on the interval that you want to play. So, for example, you might want to do a fourth. So, in your hand, see if you can feel the distance of the interval of a fourth, and we're going to put that down on the keyboard without looking. Doesn't matter what notes you play, as long as it's a fourth. Did I get it right? Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Okay, let's try one on my left hand. I'm going to do a third. So I'm going to feel that shape in my hand. I'm going to put it down without looking. And there we go. E, F, G. That's a third. Now, you don't always have to start with your thumb. So we could try a third using 2 and 4. Let's do that in my right hand. So 2 and 4, I'm going to put that down, not looking, not looking. There we go, that's a third. And by pure coincidence, it happens to be the same that I did in my left hand just before. Let's do a second in my left hand, and I'm going to do this with my 3rd and 4th finger. So the notes will be right next door. Let's have a go. Let's check that one. Very good. F and G. So that's the first thing you can try. In our next set of exercises, we're going to extend it out to 6ths, 7ths and 8ths. Now, the octave interval is possibly the most common that you'll come across, particularly in your left hand. You'll often have an octave chord to play. You might have an octave leap, say in a pattern like this. Something like that. Or in a chord, for example, the outside notes will be an octave and you might have to fill in the other notes of the chord. Something like that. So that stretch will be quite useful to be able to feel. For those of you who have a smaller hand, and if you can't get the octave straight away, what you could do for this exercise is play your thumb, for example, and then just stretch out to feel the octave rather than playing it at the same time. So let's have a go with a couple of exercises. Let's do our octave first. So I'm going to do it in my left hand. I'm going to feel that shape in my hand. I'm not looking down. And there's the octave. Let's try a 6th for my right hand. So I'm going to feel that interval distance. And I'm going to play a 6th there. Let's double check. That is looking good. C to A. And let's try the 7th. The 7th is a little more subtle. It's just under the octave. So I'm going to feel that octave stretch and then just bring it down 1. And that definitely sounds like a 7th. Let's double check. F to E. It is indeed. Of course, not everything you play will be in a 5-finger position. So we need to practice feeling the distance between the notes if we have a stretch or if we need a bunch up. So what does that mean? Let's have a look. Say I want to play a 5th in my right hand, but I'm not going to do it with 1 and 5. I'm going to try it with 1 and 3. So I'm going to imagine that 5th interval in my hand. Let's give it a go. And it is indeed G to D. Okay, let's try in my left hand. I want to do a 6th. Well, this will be tricky. And I'm going to do it with 5 and 2. Whoa, let's try that. So I'm going to stretch quite wide. And let's try that. Yep. A to F, looking good. Sounds like a 6th. It is a 6th. Okay, so those are the ones with a stretch. If I need to bunch up, that means I'm bringing my fingers in within the 5-finger position, if you like. So, for example, I might want to do C to E, which is the interval of a 3rd, but I'm not going to do it with 1 and 3. I might have to do it with 1 and 5, for example. So I'm going to bunch up my fingers, and let's see if I get that. Sounds like a 3rd. And it is a 3rd. G to B. Let's try another one. Say if I need to do a 2nd with 2 and 4. Let's try that for my left hand. So they'll be right next door. Definitely sounds like a 2nd. Let's double check. And it is C to D. Those exercises have all just been using white keys. Now it's time to add some black keys into the mix. And we're going to use a scale. I've chosen a D major scale because it's got an F sharp and a C sharp. And what we're going to do is start out with the octave. And you're just going to play those intervals coming down the scale without looking. So you're feeling that distance. And you don't always have to start with the octave. You can go up if you want to. Now that's nice because they're all going in order. How about we do some randomly? So I might do a 2nd, 7th, 5th, octave, 3rd, 4th, 6th, octave, 4th. So you can do things like that. Let's try E flat major. I'll do that in my left hand because that's starting with a black key on the bottom. So I'll do the octave going down first. So I'm just feeling those intervals. And then let's do some random ones. Let's start with the 5th, 7th, 2nd, 4th, octave, 5th. So that's a good exercise to try. And it means you need to know your scales quite well too. Okay, now we're up to the final exercise, and this is the trickiest. You're going to have to do everything by feel. You're not allowed to look at the keyboard to get your first note. Oh, so you're going to have to use the group of 2 black keys and group of 3 black keys as your guide. So you want to decide on the bottom note that you want, and then the interval number above that. So I'm going to go for a D, and then I'm going to play a 6th. So without looking, I'm going to feel some black keys here. That feels like a group of 3. So then I'm going to come down to a group of 2. That feels like a group of 2. All right, so I want to find the one in the middle. That's D, with a bit of luck. And then interval of a 6th. Let's see if I got it. Huzzah! D on the bottom, B on top. That's the 6th. So you can do exercises like that. Let's try one with a black key on the bottom. I'm going to go for an F sharp on the bottom, and then I'm going to make this one a little bit easier. I'm going to go for F sharp on the bottom and A sharp on top. So it'll be a 3rd. So let's do it with my left hand. I want to find a group of 3 black keys. Boom, boom, boom. That feels better. And let's do that. Did I get it right? F sharp and A sharp. I did. So you can see there's a lot of feeling around and kind of navigating your way to find the note that you want. But it's a really fun exercise, although it is a little tricky. So there you have it. Those are our exercises. I know some of them can be challenging, but you will quickly start to develop a real sense for what a particular interval distance feels like. And you won't have to be looking down at the keyboard as often to find your notes. This will work for your sight reading, and most importantly, it'll work equally as well for the pieces you're playing in general.